Hello and welcome if you're watching the replay, and welcome if you're watching us live. It's Q&A night, so tonight is the night we get to ask all sorts of questions of things we don't know the answers to, ask for help, anything you're interested in, discuss it, and just, if you've not already done so, just post your comments below, and if you're live, jump on and ask questions, and let's see what comes up. So, how are you both doing today?
I'm good.
Yeah, good, thanks.
So, has any of you got any questions to start with? I know I've got one today. I don't know if anyone can answer it.
You go for it first then, Mel.
I'm interested in Mercury Retrograde because we hear about Mercury Retrograde. Mercury Retrograde causes all sorts of problems. There seems to be a lot of technical difficulties when Mercury Retrograde. It affects your mood. It affects how you feel. What is it?
It's the time to hibernate.
For at least 2 weeks.
It's longer this time.
I feel
actually. It was May actually.
I just feel like the week leading up to this has been definitely if it's a precursor for more to come. Oh my god, because this past week's been a big one for bad tech problems and just all sorts of sluggy, slow things. And things like minutiae things that really pee you off, which, like you said, brings your stress out, and then you just get more annoyed at it. And then you walk away, you walk back, and it's working, and you're like, all that stress for nothing. Like it just started to work later on for no reason.
Sounds like me on an average day with IT. Hi, Anne. Hi, Claire. I can see you watching. Claire said, it's been affecting her this week as well. Yeah, let us know how it's been affecting you, Claire.
Yeah, but I have mentioned Mercury Retrograde to at least 3 people today. So we had someone whose email, he said he sent an email. His manager said she didn't get it. So there was this problem all day. So to the point where the manager came from their office down to them and they discussed it in person, which was probably better anyway, because it was, it got dealt with. But he was adamant he sent it. She was adamant it hadn't been arrived. And I just went, guys, don't argue with each other. It's just Mercury Retrograde. And they both looked at me and went, what the hell's that? And I went, I haven't got time for that at the moment. But and then I had a colleague who came over. I went, how's your day going? He went, well, for some reason, don't know how. He went, the receipts are started to print out on tickets. He went, it's never, ever done that before. And he went, and it's just causing me a nightmare. And I was like, Mercury Retrograde. And I feel like today, I know today is the start date, 10th, but I feel like I'm saying it more today to people who probably don't know anything about it. I'm highlighting it's not them. It's out of their control.
Yeah, and the energy has been building up, hasn't it? I know it's gone into retrograde today, but the energy has been building up.
It usually starts a couple of days before. Started to be on Sunday.
So is it literally just an alignment of the planets? And
it's a planetary alignment that happens 4 times a year. And the length of it differs. It's either 2 or 3 weeks, but it causes problems with communication. So anything that is like technical or electrical that is a communication equipment, so computers, phones, my printer is a good example. And then bickering. So if you find that you're arguing with people, that probably might be anyway, but it'll get worse during Mercury Retrograde. It kind of enhances that and magnifies it.
Yeah, they always say as well, don't they? Like, try not to sign contracts. Or do legal. Yeah, because you might not have seen that email that might make a decision, or you might not have. The money might not go through in time because there'll be something that's just slowing it all down. So quite a lot of people who know about these things just don't deal with big business deals. Yeah. Take your holiday.
Let me see what Claire's got. Claire said, it's been affecting me already, and it's only Tuesday. And then, I was bickering with Bubby yesterday. They're classic examples of Mercury Retrograde.
Yeah. And even me and my husband this morning, he's doing a degree, and he's a clever person, and normally he just flies through his modules, not a problem. And today he all he could see was numbers, but they weren't making any sense, and it wasn't normal. And I was like, "Do you want me to have a look at it?" No. And I'm like, "Oh, come on, no, I can do this." And he went on for hours. Then I went to work, and then he turned up at work a few hours later. And I went, "What are you doing here?" He went, "I needed to go for a walk to get away from the numbers." I said, "Oh, well, it's been at least 5 hours. Like, you must have finished it by now." And he was like, "You what? I've not finished it yet. I've still not got. He hadn't got past that bit, that spreadsheet bit, you know." And I went, "Do you want me to when I come home, I'll have a look at it?" No. Got home. He sat at the computer. I literally massaged his shoulders, and he scrolled through, and he went, "Oh my God, I get it." But it took like what would normally be an equation, like 5 hours. And he just couldn't see the numbers before. And I was like, Mercury Retrograde. It's on a laptop. You know, the numbers were probably all jumbled up earlier. It's not your fault. Like, it's revealed itself to you now. It's not your fault. Try not to do anything too much on Mercury Retrograde. Like, if you don't need to do it, don't do it.
I've been following a course that I'm doing, and I've been picking it up this last couple of days, and I just can't see the wood for the trees. So I thought, I'm feeling a bit foggy anyway, and really tired and headachy. So I thought I just need to put it down until I'm feeling better.
Yeah, that's what you need to do.
Yeah, the energies are usually really heavy when it's Mercury retrograde. And then it'll kind of lighten as we come out of it.
Yeah. So there you go, folks. Mercury retrograde. If you're watching or listening live, let us know how it's been affecting you.
Don't sign any contracts.
Yeah.
So Sunday morning, I printed half my stuff out perfectly, and then all of a sudden the printer just stopped and said it wasn't even connected to my computer, and I hadn't deleted anything, so it took me like an hour to get it going. And then this morning my printer at home's done exactly the same thing. Like, I'm just gonna not print anything for another 2 weeks now.
Again, I've got 2 printers, and that's just standard for them. I think it's just me and technology. Oh dear. Anne said, "When's it going to finish?" And Claire said, "How long does it last for?"
It's a long one. I think it's 3 weeks this time.
It is 3 weeks this time. Yeah, 3 weeks.
Hold on to your hats, folks.
And it's only just started today, so
yeah. And like Joe said, it happens leading up to it a few days. For me, it felt like at least a week this time, because maybe it's so strong, but it always drags over a few more days at the end as well. You get residual crap. Don't know how to explain it more than that. It is just sluggish.
Yeah. But June it finishes.
When?
2nd of June.
2nd of June.
And then we've got another one in September from the 9th to the 1st of October. That's another long one. And then 28th of December to the 18th of January.
Ugh.
Wow.
Anne said must go to bed for a fortnight.
Yeah.
Me too. That explains why I've been so set my mind on the direction of going. And then this last few days, I'm thinking, what am I doing this for? Am I doing the right thing? And you know, when you just start playing things over in your mind that have been so clear, and I think it is just that everything's just dead foggy, and you just lose that clarity, don't you? It's that communication. So so everything's going on hold. I'm not making any decisions about anything. I think until everything's clear.
The energy and vibration you were in when you were going for it, and you thought this is the right thing. Try and get back to that.
That's the energy and vibration.
Am I doing the right thing? It's just Mercury retrograde energy, so don't let it put you off.
Yeah, it's not you. It's like, it's not me, it's you. You know, like the whole relationship problems. Like, it's not you. It's
wow. And we've just come through an election. Politics is going to be fun, isn't it, this next 3 weeks?
Oh, God, yeah.
I think if we just watch the news, like we're watching Spitting Image, and I think we're there.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Oh, they don't even need to draw caricatures anymore, do they?
Oh.
Oh, dear. Mad. Okay, so does anyone else have any other questions about anything else? How's it been going for you and you, Claire and Anne following our call on Sunday. We had an amazing call on Sunday night where we were communicating with Claire's ghost cat.
Yep.
And it was a fascinating night. We absolutely loved it. We got to the bottom of who it was and why it was there. And we all did a little bit of animal communication as well, which was amazing. So have you two ladies had the chance to do any more or follow up on that? Or is it something that you would like to practice a little bit more? Because maybe if anyone's watching, if you want to post an animal, a pet in the group, it's an opportunity for people to practice having a read of that, if that's something that's people are interested in doing. So
yeah, well, the end of that night, obviously we ended the call. I think I wrote it in the group, but Cinders went and lay on a crystal skull. I've not got it with me at the moment, it's across the room, but she lay on it and she slept in it all night. She didn't move from it. And bear in mind, she's only a small cat, and it's quite a big crystal, like the green one, and she just slept on it all night, like she was protecting it, or I don't know. And I was like, that was interesting. And then, so just today, I was watching her, and she was in the kitchen, and I was in the living room, and she was just walking towards me like a normal cat. And then she slunk to the floor, and like looked up like that, and it was like somebody was stroking her. And she was looking at me, thinking, "Well, it's not you." So she didn't know who was stroking her, and I was like, "Are you all right?" And she won't move. She was like, as if like someone's hand had come down and was, but she was looking at me, going, "That's normally you." So I don't know who that was, but they stroked her literally in front of me, and then let her go, and she ran to me, and I was like, "Are you all right?"
Oh,
so something's definitely looking after her lately, you know.
Yeah. Well, as you know, with us folks, no two calls are ever the same. So, but with the Sunday calls, the membership group, we really do dive deeper. And yeah, it's good fun. The things that come up are amazing. So if anyone wants to join us, you're more than welcome to. We'll post the link. But yeah, I think we've got a next call this Sunday, haven't we? And then the fortnightly after that. Yeah. So brilliant. So do either of you have any questions that you want to ask us or anyone?
Yeah, who's got a question?
Well, I've got a little observation just before people chat. I did my first call for life coaching last night, and I found it very interesting that it's quite similar to how we work in spiritual development. So when he says, the teacher, Ali Campbell, when he said, when someone asks you a question, like, did you buy orange juice today or whatever, and you say, I think I did, then that's you just making something up, because if you think you did, that also you think they didn't. And he was kind of saying, if you feel like you did, like we do it, if you feel, sense and know, then that's your answer. And a lot of people think without actually feeling. So if you say, if someone says, are you feeling down? And you go, oh, I think I'm okay. But if someone says, I know I'm okay, it's a lot more genuine and a lot more, they really ask themselves, am I okay? And I just found it like fascinating that if people say, I think, it's not as good a confirmation as I feel or I sense or I know I'm okay. And I thought we do a lot of that, don't we? We try and get away from, oh, I think it means this, or I think that was that, or I think the pendulum said yes or no. But if you know it said yes, if you feel it says yes, or you just know it says yes, that means more than I think. And I just found it fascinating that it was quite a strong comparison to what we do in coaching. So yeah, that was good. Enjoyed that last night.
That also is linked to your law of attraction, Claire. So if you just think of something that you want, you won't attract it. You've got to get in touch with the emotion, which then plants it in your subconscious and sends the vibration out.
Absolutely.
So it's not enough to just think of something that you want. You've really got to get to it.
It's interesting as well, because I've been doing some NLP coaching, and that's very similar. And when it's talking about goal setting, that again is, they're talking about the law of attraction. They're talking about different terminology, but it is still, the more you want something, the more you perceive that you've got that, and you imagine that you've got that as if you've got it now, the more you're going to bring it into your awareness and develop it. So although that's coming more from a social psychology point of view, it's exactly the same thing. And I think that overlap is everywhere. It's in everything, isn't it? It's just how it relates to.
It is. This is what we say. Mind, body, and spirit. They have to be in alignment, and you know, that is material things versus your spiritual things that you can't see, but it all comes from the same source. Because like they were discussing that in the group last night, it was like no matter what you call it, it is that universal. Well, we end up calling it source in the call last night because it just covers all the aspects. If people want to call it this, that, the other, and I thought in this we're talking about life coaching skills, but actually it's very similar to psychic development skills, like using your intuition and does your mind, body, and spirit feel okay? And if something's off, then you need to sort it out.
But it's all psychology, isn't it? It's fascinating whether it's parapsychology, whether it's social psychology, whether it's, you know, whatever form, coaching psychology, whatever form, it is all that brain-body connection.
Oh,
brain-body spirit connection. And it's just, it is. It's fascinating.
And it's like when they were discussing last night about you don't really have any control about what thoughts are sort of land in your brain. You just don't know because things are happening constantly, whether you're watching a program on TV, something happens, a thought goes in your mind. You know, a friend rings, a thought goes in your mind. Like, you literally don't have a lot of control over what pops in, but you have to learn to control how you process it. So this is where a lot of people struggle, isn't it, with feeling good enough or a sense of worth. And it's funny because you were saying about, I was watching a video earlier this week, not related to life coaching, but again, it felt similar because it was like how men sell things and how women sell things. And it showed this lady, this man, I've made a product, I've priced it at this price, and it's for sale. And then someone comes along and goes, can I buy your item? And he goes, yes, you can. They hand the item over, take the money, bye, enjoy it, bye now. And that was it. And then it shows a woman who's thinking, oh my God, is it good enough? Is it the right colour? She'll spend a bit more time on the packaging. Or maybe I should do it on a Tuesday because people on Mondays are too busy. And they literally have all these thoughts. Like,
that's my brain.
And they're like talking themselves out of it. And then even when someone comes along and says, I want that, here's the money, you go, oh, there's a discount today because you're the first person to buy it, you know. Or I know that person's got 3 children and they might be struggling. I'll give you 10% off. And it's literally crazy. Like, and then obviously the funny part of it, the punchline was, oh my God, it's Mercury Retrograde. What if the till don't work? You know, like, and it's just like so much harder for some people. Okay, they broke it down into how women sell and men sell, but it's just the same with anyone's brain. Some people takes a thought in it and then lets it go, and some people stick with it all day, and it ruins the whole day or week or month. It's just how you process it all, isn't it? It's just data that comes in.
And that's where meditation really comes in, because when you learn to meditate and you start to become more mindful, when you meditate, you're more aware of what's happening inside your body and you're more aware of your thoughts. And when you're practicing mindfulness, again, you're aware of where you are in the moment. So as thoughts are coming in, you can control them. But I think when you combine the two, you start to get that recognition. So when a thought comes in, you recognize in your body how it's making you feel as well. And then once you've got that recognition, that's when you can control it. And it's like, well, hang on, I'm feeling like this has come in and I'm feeling like this. I don't want to feel like this. I'm not going to feel like this. I'm going to let that thought go away, or I'm going to change that thought to a positive thought. But I think to be able to do that, you need to be in a position to be able to recognize your emotions, you know, feel and identify them, and then recognize the thoughts and make that connection. But the problem is a lot of people, especially people, if they don't meditate or do any sort of mindfulness practice or anything, aren't able to make that connection. The thoughts are just going and they're being carried away. So it's almost like the mind's controlling the body. You know, the mind's in charge. Andy came out with a good one before. And he said your mind is a bit like a police inspector investigating his own crimes.
Finding his own evidence to support it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it is really, because how are you going to be objective if you're just sort of there in the moment? You need to be able to step back from your thoughts and look at things.
Yeah. And I think that's why I find it quite fascinating that, like, coaching now as a whole it's people used to think therapy was a bad thing, and coaching isn't therapy. It's just literally talking something through with someone and then having that realization, going, oh my God, that wasn't true what I was thinking, was it? No, it wasn't. You were just in this state or in this place or this had happened and that's why you felt like that. And it is just like, we're lucky that we've all got each other. So when we're having like a weird spiritual thing happening in our lives, like a ghost cat that's kind of annoying you, we can all discuss it. We processed it and then it put it to bed. But imagine if I'd not told anyone and it was just bothering me all day and every day, and I kept seeing this thing and it was just hurting my cat and it was getting worse and worse, and you'd go insane, wouldn't you? You'd just be so stressed out with it. So that's why you need people around to just talk to about these things. That's why this group's great. Because if someone's got anything spiritual going on, one of us will be able to help you out.
Yeah.
Or all of us. That's what Sunday showed us, didn't it? That everybody works it out.
Yeah, definitely. And that brings me on to Anne's question, what is dowsing? Which is really interesting because you did some dowsing on Sunday, Anne.
She did.
She's an expert at it.
Okay, so who wants to answer, Anne?
So dowsing is a really ancient divination tool, and they used to use it for finding resources like water. So you might have seen the dowsing rods, which are a long piece of metal with a bent over bit. They would hold the bendy over bits, and then where the dowsing rods crossed, that was the point where they'd found something. So you could do it for water, oil, crystals. Nowadays we use pendulums, so they're usually a crystal point on the end of a chain. But it doesn't have to be crystal. It can be, there's a lot of brass ones that you can get, copper, silver. Metal is a conductor of energy, so that's why they're used as dowsing tools. But you can, with the pendulum, you can pretty much find anything. You can ask anything as long as there's a yes or no answer. And you usually use a chart. So we have dowsing charts. It will be like a bit of a protractor scale, flat bit at the bottom, semicircle, and then you just make wedges or sections and you put whatever you want. So if you've got a chakra chart, each wedge would be one of the chakras. You start the pendulum in the middle of the chart and then ask a question. So which chakra is out of balance, and it will swing in one particular direction, and that will show you that wedge, that direction. So it can be used for lots of things. It can be used for communicating with spirit. Anne was asking it lots of questions on Sunday night, and that gives you the answers. You've got to be really careful when you use a dowsing tool that you are 100% centered, because you can influence the swing and get the answer you want rather than the answer that you should be getting. So you should be 100% totally detached and centered and focused and not expect.
Pretty sure, haven't we put a dowsing unit as one of the things that we're going to be teaching in the membership group at some point?
Yeah.
One of our little mini courses. So
yeah, spiritual tools.
So be able to learn much more about that.
They are really useful. I've used a pendulum when I've lost something in the house,
and
I've literally drawn the house on just like a very basic grid, and I'm like, what was it I'd lost? I think it was like a remote control. It was something that was really doing my head in, and I literally did and it was like, is it outside the house? No. So is it inside the house? Yes. Is it on the ground floor? No. Is it on the top floor? Yes. Then it was like, is it in, like, went through the upstairs, did it? Is it in the bedroom? Yes. Right, okay. And I literally went around the room. Is it here, 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 here? And then it got to this, it was like a chest of drawers. This is at my old house. And it was just like, yes, yes, yes. I thought, it can't possibly be there. It can't possibly be there. Why would the downstairs remote control be here? But anyway, whatever, as it was. Pulled all the drawers out, and there it was. At the back of there. And I was like, I have no idea how it got there. But without the dowsing tool, I wouldn't have found it because I just assumed it's gone forever. But it was upstairs, I used a grid and a pendulum to find it.
Yeah,
So it's
fantastic.
handy to have one. Handy to have one in the house. Put it on the coffee table. You never know when you might need it.
Absolutely.
Well, I lose enough things, so I'll be keeping that in mind. I need to draw a plan at the house that I can just keep coming back to.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. You can do a chart for almost anything. You could even do it for, if you're lacking supplement, if you're lacking vitamins and minerals, you can do a little mineral chart and it'll tell you. It'll show you whatever direction it swings on the chart, it'll show you. So you can pretty much ask it anyway. You can make your own chart. Very good.
Yeah, and I wear this around my neck, and it's, you can just, it's normally behind me.
Crystal, yeah,
and it's like, and it's just a quick one. If it's in the car or if I'm out and about, and I need to know something, it's just there. It's just on your chain.
You can use it to pick your cards as well. So those of you that are practicing your card readings, you can use it to pick your cards for a reading.
Oh, I like the sound of that.
Take your cards out and just let the pendulum swing, and it will swing over a particular card. Then you know that's the one.
We'll have to do that one night.
Yeah.
Anne says that's awesome. Thank you. Think outside the box. There's no limit to what you can use your pendulum for, but like I say, you have to be 100% centered and focused on what you're doing.
Yeah.
And always check it wants to work with you, because sometimes they don't.
Yeah, like we've got a friend out with Heather who deals with pendulums quite a lot, and she has quite a few that just break. They just, and it's like they just don't. Some of them just don't want to play.
They've had enough.
Yeah, they just like, I've had a few of hers that just explode. The crystals.
Oh, like, if mine exploded.
Just she went through so many in like a week. It was ridiculous. The energy was just too, whatever she was dealing it with. It was just like, she's like, right, and it's rest for a while. Yeah, so she's took a rest for a bit.
She's down to stainless steel ones now.
Yeah, I know she went through quite a lot in quite a short period of time.
Wow.
But she was, I know, she does a lot of like body work. So she would like go, like I said, like down through the body. Is there any problems? What do we need to deal with? And she just, I think she was using like literally a pendulum a person at one point.
Yeah, you can use it for scanning. We use it in healing, so you scan the body and scan the energy field.
It's amazing when it picks up. It shows you the areas where there are difficulties, and invariably when you sort of say, "You had a problem with that?" I'll say, "Yeah." Yeah.
Your pendulum doesn't lie, picks up everything.
Yeah. So there you go. I know in the past, I think Anne and somebody else mentioned, and it's a good time to point it out actually, that they've used the pendulum and it's not told them the right answer. But I think that comes back to what you were saying, Joel, that you've got to be 100%.
When you say not the right answer, you mean not the answer you wanted to hear. I have a friend that tells me her pendulum lies to her all the time. I was like, no, it doesn't lie to you. It's just not telling you what you want to hear. It's not lying. So that's why you have to be really careful.
Yeah. And I suppose energies can change as well. Because I mean, I've used it to sort of, if I've had a question, like, I moved to Scotland, because I felt like moving, I'm really keen on Scotland at the time. And the pendulum said, yeah. And I worked out the months and I got this month, but then we never went to Scotland, and, things sort of change. So your future's never going to be set out in stone. It's only going to be as accurate as your energy is at that particular time. And if your energy changes, your mind changes.
A reading, and a reader tells you, oh, this is going to happen and that's going to happen. They're not necessarily wrong if it never happens. It's just that they see a particular snapshot of your energy at that particular point they're reading, and then something can happen. It's the butterfly effect, isn't it? Something can happen somewhere and that changes the path, and that snapshot is no longer going to happen.
Yeah, I think there's some like fixed anchor points in your life that you'll always get to. Or that's meant to happen, but the bit in between those anchored points, they can be difficult as hard as you want them to be. That's what makes life so unique, isn't it? And I think like at that time, Mel, if you were thinking, I really want to be in Scotland, or there's a pull to that, that could have been an opportunity for you to do at that point, and that opportunity passed you by, and it was your choice.
Yeah.
The pendulum at the time was probably thinking, if you want, say for instance, you were thinking, I want to be self-employed and I want to live in nature, and that's what you wanted. So a card pull might have said, yes, that is a path that you've got available to you right now if you take this path. And that pendulum might be picking up, oh my God, if you want to have the nature life, this, that, the other, that's totally here. It's ready. It's this path is open for you right now. But then if you then chose to maybe not take it, I'll do one more year at school, or I want to get one more qualification, but that involves me being in Manchester, then you close that door. And like you said, another pendulum try or another card run would show you the next path. That you've closed that one. What's the next one? And that's why
you open it up again later on.
Yeah,
you don't know, do you?
No.
Yeah.
But if you're meant to be in Scotland, you will be in Scotland. That will be an anchored point at some point in your life that you would definitely take. And then you probably find, if you did do a set of cards and you had done a tarot journal, you would probably see that similar cards were coming up at the same time, and you'd be like, oh, these came up that time I was thinking of moving to be around nature or move north or whatever. And that's how people start to see patterns in their life. You know, that's why they say try and do a card a day, or at least one card a day. Write it in a journal and write down how your day went. And then you can look back, and if you start thinking, why am I getting, I don't know, the Fool card again and again and again, you know, and it's like, well, maybe there's a new chance, maybe there's a path here, maybe there's an opportunity. Maybe you need to just look a little bit, open the box a bit. There's an opportunity somewhere, but then you go, oh, I had all these Fool cards, but nothing happened. And it's like, I bet if you spoke to somebody and explained what had been going on, they'd be like, did you not see that opportunity sign right in front of you? Like that person in that shop who offered you that part-time job behind the counter was an opportunity to learn something new, or whatever it could be. It's so vague, depending on what it is you're doing or where you're going. But that's why a tarot journal is just fantastic, because you can just look back through it and go, oh, last time these cards were coming up, that opportunity was there, you know, and now it's coming back around again. It's fascinating.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So we haven't got any more questions or comments in the group. So is there anything else that you ladies would like to talk about tonight?
Oh gosh, I'm not sure.
I got something, and it kind of relates to what we talked to you about at the beginning of the conversation when we were talking about thinking and our thoughts. I read a quote earlier by one of my coaches and mentors. She was talking about spiritual bypassing and toxic positivity, and I think it's really important to mention those two things, because unfortunately they happen a lot within the spiritual development and coaching space. So I think it's important.
It's good things to touch on that.
It's not healthy to be positive all the time and only think positive thoughts. We have negative thoughts for a reason, and that's so we can process how we're feeling and our emotions. So
and not
feeling great, and someone says to you, oh, just think positive, that's the worst possible thing they can say to you, and that is spiritual bypassing. It's you know, it's, you can't just be love and light and happy all the time. It's not healthy for you. So people need to be aware of that. You have to work with the shadow self. You have to work with your higher self. It's okay to speak to your guides and do your card readings, but ultimately your higher self is the key, and processing those, your light and dark side of yourself, because we've all got one.
And
try and hide it, but it's not going away.
But this is the thing, we've mentioned it before, but this is why we're in a human life. This is why, as a spiritual being, we're in a human life, because we're here to experience the life of human, and that is, it's not all light, and it's not all lovely, and it's not all kindness. It is so many. It's so complex. It's such a complex lifespan that we're going to take as a human. That we're not doing ourselves any justice by avoiding the the more unkind bits of being a human, you know, or this sort of human life. So yeah, dead right, Joe. You're doing yourself a disservice if you don't acknowledge.
Emotions are there for a reason. I mean, they highlight danger. They highlight, traditionally the fight or flight was to highlight danger. They let you know if there are problems. They let you know what's going on. And quite often, when you can't go forward with something you want to do, it's because you've got a block there, and that's usually linked to some sort of emotion that you have tried to push down and suppress and mask because you don't want to bother everyone, or because people are telling you that, don't cry, you should be okay. And those are the things that come up later for dealing with, as Joanne said, and Claire, that's your shadow side. And that's where, going back to what we were saying before about your meditation and why it's important, because it's helping you recognize how you're feeling and helping you relate to that and address that. So if you are feeling, a good example is a couple of years ago, my husband was invited out by some friends. And this friend of his, I'd been sort of friends with a couple as well, and he'd come over from sort of where he lives now. He's moved away and we've not seen him for a while. And he'd invited my husband to go out, and he'd not mentioned me going at all. So I was a little bit, well, I'm not going then. And he said, are you coming? No, I'm not invited. He's just asked you, I won't bother coming. And I was a bit, what's it out about this? And, I started to get more and more upset. And this was all going on without me thinking. But then when I suddenly recognised what was going on in my head and I stepped back, I recognised feeling, I recognised what was going on in my head. And I thought about it and I thought, well, why am I feeling like that? Is that true? It's like, no. Well, why am I feeling like that? And then I realised that emotion was linked to when I was at school. Because I was always one of these shy ones who was rubbish at PE and therefore last to be picked to go into a team, and I was always sort of left out. So it was like, well, I don't care anyway, I'm not going to do that, which a lot of children do. So this event, although, it wouldn't have been a problem if I'd have tagged along, you wouldn't have thought anything of it. That issue was mine, not his. Yeah. But I was allowing myself to be a victim in that situation because it triggered an emotion.
Yeah, because you wanted to be asked. You wanted to, even if you didn't want to go, you wanted to be asked.
Yeah. And if I'd just thought, well, I don't care anyway, I'm not thinking about that, and not actually address that, that's something that would have kept coming up and coming up and coming up going forward. So it was only by acknowledging that emotion, thinking about that emotion, where it's come from, and addressing it, that I was able to resolve that and realise, well, actually, that's me. Yeah, I'm not a victim in this. And that's exactly how it works. If you just suppress things and you don't get them out, or even relating to other people, I always tell people if they come on my courses, sort of if they do angelic Reiki courses and, even meditation classes, something comes up for them and they cry, I don't go running to them with tissues. I just say, if it comes up, I'm not going to just come running to give you tissues because I don't want them to suddenly stop crying. That's an act people do because they feel awkward. Oh, they're there, don't cry. If tears are coming up for whatever reason, they're meant to come up. That's healing being done, and that emotion needs to be felt and worked through. So, and that really does highlight what you're saying, Jo, isn't it? It's that.
I say this when I'm teaching healing. People think that, or they have this perception that spirituality is all unicorn and rainbows and we should be happy all the time and nothing bad should ever happen to us because we're really spiritual. And actually it's not. Life's not like that. Like Claire said, we're in a human body, having a physical existence, and let's face it, life is hard sometimes. But also when we're healing and we're letting go of stuff that isn't comfortable, it's painful, it's uncomfortable, it's sad, it's all of those things. But once it's out and you got rid of it, that's when you'll feel lighter and happier. But you can't bypass that.
Yeah.
The one that tells you that.
Yeah. You can end up living an awful long life of mediocre, miserable mediocre, if you just went through these difficult bits and you just come out of it and you're like, oh my God, I learned. And some people learn it very quick and very young, don't they? And you just see that they had a lot of trauma as a child and actually, as an adult, they're just acing it because they're like, nothing can be as bad as that. So they're just able to overcome things quicker. Whereas I've met quite a few people, like I'm in my 40s, and I've met a few people that at the 40s, they've had nobody around them pass away yet. So they've still got the parents, they've still got, maybe they don't even really know the grandparents sort of thing. So they've not really dealt with any kind of bereavement. And then they've always had an okay job. And, everything's always been pretty just okay. And I always think, oh God, when it hits, because something will hit, whether it's a parent passing or you might get sacked one day, and I don't know how they're going to react. And no one knows until it happens. So some people are really resilient by the time they're 40 because they've actually had deaths and destructions and heartbreaks and all sorts.
Life experience.
Some people have tons of it by the time they're 10 years old, and some have nothing until they're like 45. And this is why some people at 45, they have this, like, they call it a midlife crisis. I'm not sure it is a midlife crisis. I think sometimes it's just they're going through like a spiritual awakening or a complete change of how they see the world. Or normally it's when a divorce is kind of coming along because they say, oh, he swapped his wife for a younger model sort of thing. And, maybe the divorce was always coming. And that's how they've dealt with it is irrational in that they've spunked a load of money on whatever the cliche sports car and the hot blonde or whatever it is. And then when they go through that phase, they normally go, oh my God, what did I do? That wasn't the right way to deal with this hurt they were feeling. They were trying to repair it with expensive things and like nice things, but ultimately they just accepted they were going through a life change, and it is uncomfortable. You can't sugarcoat it. Normally you'll see, say for instance, it is the cliche, the wife gets binned off for the younger model, wife can go one way or another. She might move on quick and go, you know what, sod ya. And she just heals and gets on with it. Or the man heals quick, and then she's left in his life of long-term, inadequacy because she didn't deal with it either. And it's just, it's so hard, and that's why you need people around you, and it just to say, how did you deal with it, or what happened to you, and it's just fascinating, isn't it? But you can't deny the human experience is a
Claire said she's also Claire said she's also been addressing suppressed emotions for the last few years, trying to understand herself, and I think you do tend to get lost. Just coming back to what you said though, as well, Joe, about toxic positivity, is it? One of the phrases I'm seeing shined around a lot is shine your light with light workers. But what does that actually mean? Does that mean you've got to be happy and cheerful all the time? Or does that actually mean, can you shine your light by sharing your experiences for other people to learn and grow from? And shared experiences aren't always, really, I don't know, they're not always really bright and bubbly, but
your best lessons in life are the hardest, not the nicest, not the brightest.
But if overall what you're doing is helping people through their hard times, being there for them, whether it's a smile, whether it's holding the hand, whether it's sharing your experiences with them to help them realize they're not alone, it might even be crying with them, and sharing that emotion with them, that's shining your light. That's helping them.
I think for me, when someone, or I say someone, just shine your light, I always feel like you're saying, like, don't hide in the dark, don't hide, like, be visible. You have got a talent, or you have got a skill, and maybe you've been hiding behind a corporate job, or working in an industry that's not shining, making you feel very shiny. Sometimes you have to just step into your shiny bits. I always think it's like, they call it like a zone of genius. It's what you do best. For some people it is that friend who lets you cry. Some people it is that friend who does your hair and makes you look like lovely and fancy. Like a hairdresser can shine a light, and like you walk in a hairdresser feeling a bit miserable and you come out there feeling shiny because your hair looks great. She's probably quite a healer doesn't realise it. She thinks she's just cutting hair, you know. But people go in there, they complain a little bit about what's going on in their life. They end up working a lot out in the hour that they're in there, don't they? You come out going, I feel so much better. It's not just a haircut. It's offloading a little bit, and they just they massage your head, you cut your hair, you walk out feeling $1 million. And I always think that hairdresser is shining their light, without even knowing they're doing it half the time. And I think some people just need to be, I don't know, given permission to be visible with what they do and not be ashamed of it anymore. It's like step into the light. But I know what you're saying about toxic positivity. If someone's having a bad week and all you say to them is, just keep shining your light, you're not really taking into account the fact that they're not feeling very well or they're not feeling very good, and just telling them to kind of shut up and shine. It's hard, isn't it? Because they need something else. They need just to listen for 5 minutes while they just explain how crap their day's been, you know, and take a little bit off their shoulders. 5 minutes, whatever it is. Yeah, it can be toxic if you just sugarcoat it with fluffy words. Yeah,
absolutely. That was a really good point at the end, Jo, and really important thing to talk about. So fantastic.
We should do that again. You know, we should do like what do people interpret it? What do people interpret it? Because when you say shine your light, I guess we both have different opinions of it today. I've not thought about it. And I suppose what we normally find after these calls is you'll see it somewhere, whether it's in a sales page or it's someone's post, whatever. And then it makes you think again, doesn't it, about what it means. So maybe we should come back
to layers to it, isn't there?
Yeah, loads of layers to it, yeah.
So,
have to read it.
So, while we're on, why not make it this post? Everybody who's watching today, you know, whether you're watching live, whether you're watching the replay, please do post in the comments and let us know, what does shine your light mean to you, and what's your takeaway from today's call? You know, has things changed or shifted, or does it still mean the same thing to you? So, you know, let's find out what you are thinking as well. Would be great.
That would be great.
So there's your homework for this week, folks. Okay, so on that note, we've been on nearly 50 minutes, so it's time to wrap up now. Thank you to everybody who's been watching live, and thank you to everyone who's watching the replay, and of course to Joanne and Claire for your amazing input. And we will be back next week as normal, 7 o'clock next Tuesday, in the Feel the Vibes Facebook group. Okay, see you then, folks. Bye.
Bye.